1953, Tehran. A CIA-funded mob fills the streets. Tanks roll toward the Prime Minister's residence, and by nightfall, Iran's elected leader is under arrest. Washington calls it a clean win, mission accomplished. 26 years later, that win comes back as a revolution, a hostage crisis, and a regime that has now outlasted 10 U.S. presidents. So here's the real question. Nobody's asking, what if the United States has already tried to beat Iran over and over for more than 200 years, and every single time the win didn't actually stick? Fact one, even the British Empire, at the height of its power, decided Iran couldn't be conquered. Not because its army was strong. It wasn't. Because the terrain is a mountainous, sprawling trap that swallows invading armies, and because Britain and Russia spent a century watching each other, each too afraid to let the other grab it. British colonial officials, Lord Curzon among them, wrote openly that direct control of Persia was a fantasy. So the empire's actual strategy was never to occupy Iran. It was to make sure nobody else could, either. If the most powerful empire in history wouldn't even try, that tells you something about what any modern power is up against. Every outside power that's tried to control Iran by force has gotten the same result: humiliation, followed by resistance, never submission. Russia crushed Iran's army in the early 1800s and forced it to sign away land and legal rights in one of the most one-sided treaties of the century. Decades later, Britain and Russia carved the country into spheres of influence without asking a single Iranian. Twice in 2 world wars, foreign troops occupied Iranian soil outright. And every time, Iran didn't fold, it organized. Protests that killed a British tobacco monopoly in 1890. A revolution in 1905 that gave the Middle East its first constitution. And then, in 1951, an Iranian prime minister did something no one expected. He nationalized Iran's oil and dared the British Empire to do something about it. His name was Mohammad Mossadegh. Britain couldn't just invade. Global opinion wouldn't allow it, so Britain went to Washington instead. And this is where the story turns. In 1953, the CIA and British intelligence didn't send an army. They spent an estimated $1 million funding mobs, bribing military officers, buying newspaper headlines to turn Iran's own army against its own government. Mossadegh was arrested. The Shah, who'd briefly fled the country, came back and ruled for the next 26 years as a close U.S. ally, buying billions in American weapons. On paper, total victory. Cheap, fast, deniable. It was actually the opposite. That coup planted a memory so deep it directly fueled the 1979 revolution. And when revolutionaries stormed the U.S. Embassy that year, they didn't just call it a hostage crisis. They called the embassy a den of spies, a direct callback to 1953. The United States didn't defeat Iran that year. It just delayed the bill, and Iran collected it with interest a generation later. Here's the part almost nobody connects. The government that emerged from that revolution didn't just replace the Shah. It was built from day one, specifically so 1953 could never happen again. Iran's regular army, the same one the CIA turned in 1953, was never fully trusted again. So the new regime created a second, parallel military loyal only to itself, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Today, it runs its own Army, Navy, Air Force, and intelligence service backed by a volunteer militia stationed in nearly every city and town, over 500,000 people combined. That's not a coincidence. It's a direct architectural response to what the CIA did in 1953. The single most effective tool America ever used against Iran is also the reason Iran built a system specifically designed to make sure it could never be used again. And here's the twist most coverage skips entirely. This was never really a fight between the U.S. and Iran. Independent survey data, most notably a large anonymous poll conducted from outside the country by the Netherlands-based research group Gaman, suggests a strong majority of Iranians don't actually support the regime that claims to rule in their name. That data has real limits. It's self-selected, gathered online, impossible to verify against a closed authoritarian state. But it points to something real. The actual fight has never simply been America against Iran. It's a population caught between a government it didn't choose and outside powers that keep trying to force change from the outside instead of letting it come from within. For over 200 years, that approach has never once worked. So can the United States beat Iran? Militarily, in a direct fight? Almost certainly. But that was never really the hard question. The real question, the one 2 centuries of history keeps answering the same way, is whether a military win and lasting political control are even the same thing in Iran. So far, every single power that's tried has gotten the same answer: no.